Welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we are diving deep into a story that has absolutely sent shockwaves through the entire league. And listen, this isn't your typical story about a blockbuster trade or a massive free agent signing. No. This goes much, much deeper. This is about the high-stakes, strategic chess match that plays out behind the scenes, in the front offices. It is a fascinating tale of ambition, of a brilliant organizational strategy, and a loophole. A loophole so precise, so cleverly exploited, it could honestly change the way NFL teams are built for years to come. It's a story that starts with what looks like a fantastic promotion, but ends with a massive, league-shaking controversy. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around because the ripple effects of this could be felt for a very long time. We are going to get into every single granular detail. But before we do, if you're a fan of this kind of deep dive NFL analysis, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and definitely let us know in the comments what you think about this whole wild situation.
Okay, so let's just get right to the core of it, the central question that has football fans, especially in Chicago, just completely beside themselves. How in the world does a feel-good story, a genuinely positive moment where a rising star in the executive world gets his big break, how does that morph into a complete and utter nightmare for the very team that poured years into nurturing his career? That is the paradox at the heart of this whole thing. It's a classic case of one team's gain being another team's loss, right? But in this specific instance, the loss is so much bigger, so much more complex than anyone could have possibly imagined. And it all boils down to a little-known clause buried in a very important rule and an incredibly clever, some people might even say cynical, front office maneuver.
This slide right here, man, this just lays it all out in stark, brutal black and white. It really drives home the reality of the situation for the Chicago Bears. On one side, you have the absolute pinnacle of success for an individual, a man, Cunningham, reaching the top of his profession, earning that coveted general manager title, a huge win. But on the other side, you have the pure agony of defeat for an organization, a team, the Bears, left with absolutely nothing, zero, to show for years of investment in developing that top-tier talent. It's just staggering. How is that even possible? How do you go from expecting 2 premium draft assets that can build a franchise, to getting nothing more than maybe a handshake and a thank you note? It just doesn't compute. All right, to really get our heads around this, we need to peel back the layers of this very complex onion. So we're going to break it all down step by step. First, we'll look at the promotion itself, the move that set this entire chain of events into motion. Then we'll take a deep dive into the specific NFL rule that was supposed to apply here, the Rooney Rule. After that, we're going to expose the loophole, the clever piece of organizational engineering that the Atlanta Falcons used to their advantage. Then we'll quantify the damage, we'll break down the numbers, and show you just how much this maneuver cost the Bears in real-world assets. And finally, we'll get into the big debate that this has sparked across the entire league. Is this a simple case of a team playing by the rules, or is it a case of a team completely violating the spirit of the law?
So our story begins on January 30th, 2026. At this point, the Chicago Bears front office knows they're probably about to lose their star assistant GM, Cunningham. He's getting interviews, he's a hot name, and the Atlanta Falcons are calling. And you know what? That's the price of success in the NFL. You develop great people, and eventually other teams are going to come calling to give them their own shot. It hurts, but you expect it. What the Bears didn't know, what literally no one outside of the Falcons building knew, was that they were also on the verge of losing a whole lot more. At the time, this just seemed like a standard, happy story of a talented executive getting his well-deserved big break. But as we're about to find out, there was a lot more going on behind the scenes than anyone realized.
And let's be crystal clear about something. This wasn't just some run-of-the-mill promotion. Cunningham was the guy in personnel circles. He was the name on everyone's lips, the one every team with an opening had on their absolute shortlist. He was a key architect, working right alongside GM Ryan Poles in the Bears' incredible turnaround, helping transform their roster from a rebuilding project into a legitimate playoff contender. Being on Albert Breer's influential future GM list for 3 straight years, that's not just a nice mention. That's the league telling you this guy is a blue-chip prospect. And he wasn't just on lists. He was a legitimate finalist for the top jobs with the Cardinals, the Commanders, and the Titans in previous hiring cycles. This was a man who is absolutely destined for a top job, and the Falcons knew they were getting a stud. Okay, so here's where things are supposed to make sense. Normally, in a situation exactly like this one, you would think that a team that invests years in identifying, hiring, and developing a top minority talent like Cunningham would be rewarded for its efforts. The league wants to encourage this, right? That is the entire point of a key amendment to the Rooney Rule. It is specifically designed to be a win-win situation. The executive gets a life-changing promotion, and the team that developed him gets compensated with valuable draft picks for their loss, which encourages them to keep finding and developing more diverse talent. But as we're about to see, the Falcons found a way to take that clear win-win and turn it into a brutal win-lose. And the Bears were the ones left holding a completely empty bag.
So let's just talk about the rule itself for a second. The Rooney Rule, at its core, is more than just a piece of league policy. It's a statement of intent. It's the NFL saying, we are committed to improving diversity and inclusion in our highest ranks. And that 2020 amendment was absolutely crucial. It gave the rule real teeth. It took it from just being about mandating interviews to creating a powerful, tangible incentive for teams. It basically became a promise. If you invest in identifying and developing minority talent, if you help them rise through the ranks, you will be directly and handsomely rewarded for those efforts when they get hired away. But as we are now seeing in excruciating detail, the Falcons found a way to get the talent without paying the price.
And when you look at it on paper, it's a simple, elegant system that's supposed to benefit everybody involved. It's designed as a perfect win-win-win scenario. Step 1, the team that develops the talent, in our story, the Bears, does the hard work. Step 2, another team, the Falcons, gets a fantastic new executive to lead their football operations. Step 3, the Bears get rewarded with valuable draft picks. It's a win for the Bears, it's a win for the Falcons, and it's a win for the NFL's diversity goals. It's beautiful. But, as we now know, the Falcons found a way to navigate this process that turned that perfect win-win-win into a win-lose-lose, with the Bears and, you could argue, the integrity of the program itself being the ones left with absolutely nothing.
So where did it all go so wrong for the Chicago Bears? Well, the answer lies in a single audacious move, a front office restructuring that was so clever, so outside the box, that it is still sending shockwaves throughout the league today. Now, it's a move that was, by all accounts, perfectly legal according to the NFL's rulebook. But it's also a move that many people believe was a direct assault on the very spirit of the Rooney Rule. It's a move that could fundamentally change how teams hire executives for years to come.
This slide right here is the whole ballgame. This is where it all gets really interesting. After the 2025 season, the Falcons didn't just go out and hire a new GM. They completely reinvented their entire front office structure. And here's the critical part. Before they even interviewed Ian Cunningham for the GM job, they created an entirely new position, a whole new layer of management above the general manager. They created the role of President of Football Operations. And who did they hire for that job? A very familiar face in Atlanta, their former franchise quarterback, the legendary Matt Ryan. That move and the timing of it is everything. Now, this chart might look a little corporate, a little dry with all the titles and arrows, but it's actually brutally simple when you boil it down. It all comes down to one question. Who's the real boss? Who has the final say on all football matters? And if you just look at that third column, final say on football ops, it tells the entire story. The answer is yes for one person, Matt Ryan, the president. And it's a big, fat no for Ian Cunningham, the general manager, and for the head coach. In this brand new structure, both the GM and the head coach report up to Matt Ryan. So while Ian Cunningham got the prestigious title of general manager, he wasn't the top football executive. And that one little detail is exactly why the Bears got completely shut out.
And that, right there, is the loophole. It's a technicality, a brilliant piece of legal maneuvering based purely on job titles and reporting structures that allowed the Falcons to sidestep the rule. The Rooney Rule compensation is only triggered when a minority candidate is hired as a head coach or the primary football executive, the person with final say. By creating a role for Matt Ryan above the GM and giving him final say, the Falcons ensured that Cunningham, despite his GM title, was not technically that primary executive. It's a move that is, by the letter of the law, perfectly legal, but it's one that many believe is a giant slap in the face to the entire spirit and purpose of the Rooney Rule.
So what's the big deal, right? Some people might say, it's just a couple of draft picks, get over it. Wrong. So wrong. In the modern NFL, where the salary cap is king and hitting on cheap rookie contracts is paramount, draft picks are the currency of the realm. They are the absolute lifeblood of building a sustainable, championship-caliber team. So the Bears didn't just lose some abstract assets on a spreadsheet. They lost concrete, tangible building blocks for their future. Let's break down exactly how much this clever little org chart shuffle is really going to cost them. 2 third-round picks. That is what the Chicago Bears lost. To really put that into perspective for you, that's 2 chances to draft a player in the top 100 of any given draft class. The third round is where you find long-term starting offensive guards, your number 2 cornerback, key rotational pass rushers, and sometimes you find absolute superstars. It is 2 chances to add depth, 2 chances to build a dynasty, 2 chances to acquire the kind of talent that could be the difference in winning a Super Bowl. And now, because of a front office flowchart, those 2 chances are just gone. For a team like the Bears, who are seemingly right on the cusp of greatness, this is a truly devastating blow.
Still not convinced of how big a deal this is? Okay, let's take a quick trip down memory lane. Back in 2012, the Chicago Bears made a franchise-altering trade. They sent 2 third-round picks to the Miami Dolphins for a wide receiver named Brandon Marshall. You might have heard of him. He was only one of the most dominant, game-changing wide receivers in the entire league at the time, a 3-time Pro Bowler smack in the middle of his prime. That is the kind of immediate, tangible, all-pro level impact that 2 third-round picks can have on the trade market. So now the Bears are just left to wonder, what could have been? What Pro Bowl player could they have acquired with that lost capital?
As you can probably guess by now, this is not just a story about the Bears and the Falcons anymore. This has become a story about the entire National Football League. It's a massive talking point in owner suites and GM's offices from coast to coast. It's a story about a rule that's been cleverly circumvented, a trust that has potentially been broken, and a future for this very important incentive program that is now completely uncertain. And it is a story that has forced everyone in a position of power in the NFL to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask some very uncomfortable questions. And this right here is where things get really messy, and where the debate truly begins. Did the Falcons' move undermine the entire spirit of the Rooney Rule? I mean, think about it. The Bears did exactly what the rule was designed to encourage them to do. They identified, hired, and developed a top-tier minority executive who was then promoted to a general manager job at another franchise. This is the poster child scenario for how the rule is supposed to work. And yet, for doing everything right, the Bears received nothing. So did the Falcons find a clever, innovative way to play by the rules? Or did they just expose a massive, fatal flaw in the system itself? That's the question that everyone is asking, and there are no easy answers. So what happens now? That really is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Have the Atlanta Falcons, intentionally or not, opened a Pandora's box that can never be closed again? Have they created a new blueprint, a new playbook for hiring top executives away from other teams without having to pay the compensation price? Is this the beginning of the end for the Rooney Rule's compensatory pick system as we know it? Or is this just a one-time thing, a fluke, a perfect storm of circumstances that will never happen again? Honestly, only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, the NFL will never be quite the same after this. Thanks for watching this episode of NFL Nexus. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and please comment below with your take on this whole situation. And before you go, be sure to help support the channel by checking out our coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, and even adults. You can find the link in the description or just use the QR code right there on the screen. We'll see you next time.